So what we decided to do was actually send them away to Goodrich and get them overhauled. So they'd done all the valves and the little seals and all that. That was all reset and then brought back. Okay, so we're talking now in 2006 with inflation. We estimate it was costing us 5 million to actually do the project. Except come 2006 at the end then, we had a uplift in costs by one of our major contributors who doubled their estimated costs. And we had a cash flow very similar to what we just had, and we needed to raise 1.2 million, I think it was, or 1.3 million in 3 weeks. So I just come out of the Air Force, turned down promotion and everything to work the project because it took him 2 years to get me out, and then he sacked me 4 months later. So obviously we went to the pledge, hit the TV, Sky, BBC and all that lot, raised all the money, the club done a lot of pledge scheme, and they got 700,000, 200,000 pound in cash came in, and on one of the news items, I think it was Sky or somewhere, a young kid was there saying, I've just donated all of my pocket money, which was about 78 pence. And Sir Jack Hayward had saw that. I said, well, if a kid can give all his money, he gave them £500,000 the day before we was about to close. So that actually turned out on the 31st to be a celebration, not a wake. And we was expecting about 1,000 people because the aircraft had been in the hangar since '99. And to look at it, you wouldn't know what we've done. We've just been spending £45 million and it looked exactly the same. So we decided ourselves in that last month, we would just bolt it back together just to prove it is still an aircraft, and if we could get this money, we would get it flying. And all in all, I think nearly 5,000 people turned up. So a nice party that night. One of the things that it came out of the RAF in '93, it needed a major servicing, and it also needed a modification, which is on the rear spar. And this is where the wing actually bolts to the main airframe. And what it needed was a nice long strengthening plate either side of the rear spar. MOD quoted £1 million so many years ago, and we had to do that. And the strap we actually see there had to be milled from a solid bit of metal. It's a step size, and then the holes had to be drilled, honed and everything. And it took about a month to actually make that then place. Trouble is, the aircraft, the wing was actually unbolted from the aircraft for nearly a month, which was a slight twitch on our behalf, because if it had moved in any way, then obviously we would never have been able to get it back together again. But thankfully it went back together again, so we could go and get all that lot done. Then we could get onto the corrosion we knew about. This was in the undercarriage place, obviously with all the spray gets up. We'd taken out the lower panel, false floor, had a look, saw some corrosion, but could see it was moving along, but we couldn't quantify it, how far it actually went. And obviously we couldn't clamber all over the wing, just peel all the skins back while it was unbolted, so we had to wait until it was done. And what we found, all the area you can see there that's got paint stripped, had to be pulled back. It tracked down so far and it exceeded our estimates tenfold. And what we thought would take around about 4 or 5 weeks with half a dozen engineers actually took 12 weeks with 20 contractors working 14-hour days. There was over 100,000 rivets per side. So we didn't make it down the mile the other year, hence the problems. Flying controls, the ailerons, again, these needed a lot of work done. Magnesium alloys again, and all the string as you can see inside, the majority of them had to be reverse engineered and rebuilt and everything because the corrosion was so bad in them. We sent them down our spare ones as well so they can make the best setup. And again, the initial quote was £67,000 to take the skins off, overhaul them and send them back. After the rebuild I had to do it, it was £250,000. So this is where the money ended up going. So it's gone up a little bit more inflation. The new cockpit. What we can see there now, obviously we had the old cockpit. Some of the old navigation equipment was controlled by valves. So obviously we didn't want that. And obviously with the CAAs, with the new legislations, we had to replace some of the cockpits. So there we have the old instruments there, the old beam compass, attitude director and everything. And now we have the nice shiny new one. We've got a nice Garmin up top, so we've sat the navigators in the back, we've fitted 2 Garmins, and we have a nice artificial horizon in colour, up and down, so it's easy for the pilots to read. And because we've had to buy stuff from America, we now have a horizontal situation indicator. It works identical to a compass, but obviously because it's American, that is a posh word. We also have a height encoding altimeter as well, which relates to the Mode-S transponder. And what that does, where you've seen on air traffic, you see the little blips on the radar that gives them a certain number and height reading, and that's why we've had to fit that altimeter to our aircraft so we can actually relay that message to the air traffic controls. There she is, fuel system. Like I said, we'd replaced all the fuel tanks and all the fuel pipes. There was something like 60 flexible fuel hoses that have to be removed and replaced. And as you can see, there's quite a few of the lads actually running around with big yellow buckets as we was testing all this. Generally, it wasn't too bad. We only had 2 sort of leaks that sort of washed the floor. The rest of it was just slight leaks, which we managed to do, and everything was fine on that. And obviously, like aircraft's got a big cheesy grin, now it's whittling on the floor. Okay, comes to running the engines. These engines were overhauled back in 1980, 1981, and just been put in the anti-deterioration bags and checked down again, replaced the silica there once or twice, give it a quick tune by hand to make sure it hadn't seized for over 25 years. So we put them into the aircraft, done a couple of wet runs and dry runs, just getting the fuel into it, make sure we get all fuel in, and it does actually spin. Fired them all up, and all 4 engines started first time. Bit of a smoke, but everyone started. So we shut them down and got drunk. Second day we went back, we actually went in and fired them all up again, and then we started opening up the throttles a bit, and gradually over a week we managed to get all 4 engines up to maximum power within a week, doing it stage by stage. Once we knew they were all going there, we went and set all the idles and set all the parameters, done all that lot. Once they were all mechanically set up, they were handed back to myself to finish off the electrical checks with the alternators. And on the very last check, which was a 10-minute check, we had a hydraulic failure above the number 3 engine. What happened was, that is an aluminium, which is a low pressure pipe, was fitted into the high pressure system. We actually dug the paperwork out, traced it back, got all the paperwork out, and found out that the pipe had been actually labelled up wrong from the old days. It was actually supposed to be in a high pressure pipe, but obviously it wasn't. So then we had to inspect every single pipe we'd replaced in the high pressure system to make sure this didn't happen again. Luckily it was all on the ground because it emptied its entire hydraulic systems all over the engine, so we had to take that out and check all that lot. Of course, because we'd done that, then we had to do all the undercarriage functionals again because we stripped it all down. We had to do all the engine functionals again because we'd had the engine out. So all in all, it just took us another extra week or 2 until October 2007 when we actually went for our first little walk. Now, it's actually me there going for the walk with the aircraft. I'm actually connected via a long lead into the nose wheel area where I connect in. And normally when you see an aircraft off, you marshal it, tell it which way to go. And obviously it's the first time, although they've been taxiing other Vulcan aircraft, it's the first time they played with our aircraft down at Brent. They thought, narrow pans, so I said, do you want me to marshal you out or would you like me to walk you? So I said, well, may as well walk you, so I turned left a bit, right a bit. Well, you can see there's a slight incline. And I've got a nice coil of lead on me, so as it gets to the incline, slows down a bit, so he opens up the tap. By the time he's round the corner, I'm at full speed.